We got questions about Alabama. We got questions about the secondary. We got questions about the offensive line, recruiting, tons of questions. And today is the day for those questions. Twitter Tuesday, your mailbag edition of Locked On Vols. It happens right now.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. Tuesday, Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane, @_Kaner, at Locked On Vols. This is Locked On Vols, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every single day. As always, please subscribe on YouTube. Already past 4,000 subscribers and pushing towards 5,000 and available for free anywhere you get your podcast. Locked and loaded with Twitter Tuesday, mailbag edition. You guys have done an excellent job sending me in your questions, comments, some thoughts, all that type of stuff. And today's the day when I bring it on the show. So can't thank you guys enough for that. As always, please subscribe and support the show. We're going to be previewing the Alabama football game the rest of the week. Talking a little PFF grades tomorrow as well, but it's going to be a lot of Tennessee and Alabama as the week goes on. So really, really looking forward to that. But right now, it's your questions. We'll start on my Facebook page. I am not very active on this Facebook page, but I do have one. Is at Kaner on Air. I don't think I posted on there in like a year. I should probably try to start getting active in that thing again. But nonetheless, it is there if you want to send me questions. Eric sends me questions just about every single week there. Eric, I appreciate you. Twitter Tuesday question, assuming Tank, that's Jalen McCullough, doesn't play, who gets the nod at safety? How much of the lack of rotation back there hurt Tennessee in this circumstance? Yeah, I went ahead and recorded the episode last night, and when I got done, that's when the news about Jalen McCullough broke, and so I didn't have a chance to go ahead and record that or to put that in the episode. But nonetheless, all we know right now is pretty much the information that was out and about on a Sunday night. Knox County Sheriff's website says that Jalen McCullough was arrested and charged with aggravated assault. It says McCullough was booked on Sunday night. A bond had not been set at the time. According to the report, the victim went into McCullough's apartment by mistake. When the victim left, McCullough followed him outside, punched him, causing the victim to fall down the steps. And pretty much that's all the report said. Asked Josh Heupel about it. The media did on Monday, and he said, hey, still gathering information. When we know something, we will let you know. Obviously, it's not a good situation. I know there's been a lot of talk out there. I'm not really it's not my place to give a comment on that other than this. I mean, this is not what you want, obviously. I know I don't know Jalen McCullough personally, but he has spoke to the media many, many times. He seems like a stand-up individual. I didn't really cover him in recruiting that often, but he's done nothing throughout his Tennessee career to ever think that he's been a troublemaker of any sorts. You hope that this situation gets resolved for all parties. From the outset, I haven't heard much on a Monday, but from just on the outside looking in, I kind of get the feeling he'll be okay long-term in terms of playing football, but I don't know about this week. I really don't know. Hopefully we'll get some more answers as the week goes on, but if he's not out there, this is a situation where Tennessee does not rotate safeties ever. And it wasn't just Eric. You had Carter and Blah wanting to know about Jalen McCullough and the safeties as well. Trayvon Flowers and Jalen McCullough pretty much play every single snap at safety. It's almost ridiculous. And even in those blowouts, it was a whole lot of those two guys and not a whole lot of backups. And, for times like this or times like for injury, you kind of put yourself in a situation to where you're going to have to play somebody. Is that going to be Andre Turrentine? I doubt it. We haven't seen a whole lot of Andre Turrentine on defense this year. Saw a little bit of Danico Slaughter get in there against LSU, actually made a play, had a tackle for loss in the backfield. Will it be Danico Slaughter? I don't know. Could it be Wesley Walker? He's played a lot of star this year. Can he switch back and play some safety? He was doing that in camp before his injury. That's kind of what I would do in this situation, but we'll have to see. So I think it might be a combination of Slaughter, of Wesley Walker at safety, maybe a little Andre Turrentine. Those would be the ones that I think would get the nod. Again, here on a Tuesday, if I'm a betting man, I bet it would be Slaughter. I would put Wesley Walker back there, but then again, we'll have to see as the week goes on. So, Eric, good question there. And I think Tennessee's lack of rotating guys in there, especially those blowouts the past 2 seasons, is kind of unfortunate for a situation just like this. Let's go to AJ. AJ wants to know, or AJ says, I feel like I should complain about something. It's ingrained as an Evolve fan to have behavior like this. I just can't help it. Why do we run the ball up the middle every second down play? So predictable. I don't know. A lot of Josh Heupel's going to run the football a lot of the times, and a lot of the times it's, there's visions to cut it inside, outside. There's options there to where the quarterback could pull it. He's going to do that every single time, but Tennessee will run the football, and Tennessee ran for over 230 yards against LSU, I believe. So it was working. For every time you run up the middle and only get 2 yards or 3 yards, sometimes you can pop it for 5 or 6 on the outside, a couple plays down the line. So that's kind of how I would answer that one. AJ, appreciate you chiming in. Let's go to Jeremy. Jeremy wants to know, this might be a dumb question, but I've often wondered what coaches watch when they are scouting an opponent. I feel like the telecast would not be all that helpful to watch, as you can't see all the field at the same time. Do they exchange tape with other teams like in high school? Yeah, interesting question, man. And I'm sorry, I didn't really get a chance to ask on this, but high schools, they have huddle and they trade tape that way. In college, at least at my level, we had tape on every single team, and I would assume that they traded that as well. I would imagine that there's probably a service that you subscribe to if you're a coach and they have audio on there, or video on there. But it's never going to be the telecast. I'll tell you that right now. When you're watching film and scouting an opponent and watching tape and all that, you see a wide shot, then you see a tight shot. Okay. You can see a lot more from the tight shots. The steps of the offensive lineman, the angles, stuff like that you can't necessarily see from a wide shot. So when you're watching tape and you're checking the tape and all that, you have a wide shot, you have a tight shot from the end zone cam. And so that's kind of how you watch plays. Plus, you have analysts and young guys, off the field staffers that are sitting there cutting up tape, taking advantage of that, getting the game tape, chopping it up into specific run plays, tendencies, down in situations, all that type of stuff. And then you just kind of hand it to the position coaches and the coordinators and all that, so that they can go to certain situations and see what this team does. But as far as getting that tape, I don't know. That's a good question. I can tell you about high school, and I can tell you a little bit about how when I was in college, but high-level SEC, Power 5, I have no clue. I would assume probably a service that you subscribe to where all that tape is there. Jeremy, appreciate the question. That is not a dumb question, because obviously I don't entirely know the answer to it, to be completely honest. We'll go to my DMs. That's at _Caner. And we will go to Trevor. Trevor, if I can find there you go. Trevor wants to know, before I go into my Twitter Tuesday question, I want to say that thank you so much. You do a great job, Twitter. Trevor, I really, really do appreciate that, man. Says he appreciates my unbiased and level-headed opinions. Some do, a lot don't, but I do appreciate that. Here's the question. Tennessee football in 5 games. Do you kind of know what they are? Do you think that we're going to find out against Alabama? I think we have a good idea of what Tennessee is, right? I mean, Tennessee's an offense that's very aggressive. It's going to throw it down the field. Nothing has changed since Cedric Tillman's been out of the football game the last couple of games. Defensively, I think they've tried a couple different things, but I think we know Tennessee is not great in the secondary. It's at its best when it's aggressive, especially with the front 7 and sometimes blitzing from the 3rd level. It's a team that struggles in zone coverage. It's a team that's better in man coverage, but again, bringing blitzing up front. I think we kind of have a good idea of what Tennessee is. Now, as I said in Monday's show, Alabama is good. Georgia is good. Those are 2 top 3 teams in the country. If Tennessee loses those games, that doesn't mean Tennessee's a bad team. It just means Tennessee lost to some better football teams. Now, depending on how you don't want to get blown out. You don't want it to be the same scenarios that's been the last couple of years for both of those games, because that would be disheartening. But if you lose those games, it doesn't mean you're a bad football team. I think you have a chance to win those games. And certainly I think we know kind of what Tennessee is at this point. But Trevor, do appreciate the question. Good stuff there. Now we'll go from Trevor and we'll go to a Fireball. And Fireball's question is, which defensive lineman has been a surprise this year for you? Yeah, there's a couple of them, right? I mean, Amari Thomas is the best one. He's played out of his mind. You knew that was there, so I guess that wouldn't be really a surprise. Bryson Eason, never thought he would be a contributor in the interior of the defensive line. the way he's been this year. He's not an all-star. He'll never be all SEC. He'll never play 30 snaps in a game. But I would say Bryson Eason, Dominic Bailey getting some snaps has been surprising to me. He didn't get an awful lot, but him getting some snaps is surprising. But I got a good one right here. How about Latrell Bumpus? He was one of Tennessee's best defensive linemen in 2019, about 4 or 5 injuries ago. And he is playing, in my opinion, his best football right now. He's playing more than Tyler Barron is right now, considerably more. He is on the field a lot, and he is contributing, in a big way. So give me Latrell Bumpus for that. But there's a couple of them that have played really well and kind of surprised me. Bryson Easton just being out there. The coaches continued to talk about him a lot last year, but again, just being out there, that's kind of surprising to me, and he's playing considerably good snaps. We'll do Shane here before we go on to segment number 2, and then we'll get some more of your questions. Shane chimes in, I never got the name of the player that recovered the fumble on the opening kickoff. Do you know who it was? And who is on the starting lineups for the kickoff team and kickoff return? First of all, that was Will Brooks. He is a walk-on linebacker. And as far as and that was a heck of a play, by the way. I mean, Josh Heupel kind of broke it down, but you're running full speed. The ball pops out. You get it. You're inbound. You take a lick and hold on the football. Really nice play. As far as the starters on kickoff and kickoff return, a lot of young guys and a couple of walk-ons. I don't have those starters, but I can tell you Cheyenne LaBruza is not a young guy. He's a veteran, but he's just a special teamer. He's on there. Jordan Thomas, a freshman's on there. James Pierce, a freshman's on there. Obviously, Will Brooks, Heath Schuler, Navy Schuler's cousin, also a walk-on linebacker. He is on that unit. Just some guys like that. Christian Charles is on the units for kickoff and kickoff return as well. A lot of young guys, couple of walk-ons, but a whole lot of young guys, especially some young defenders, is kind of where they fill in those gaps there. The second one, have any of the freshman offensive linemen played so far this season? Outside of mop-up duty, no. Addison Nichols, I think Mo Clipper. Actually, I don't know. I probably need to go check on that. I think Masai Reddick got in there for a snap on Saturday for a kneel down, and some of these other freshman offensive linemen maybe got in there in some mop-up duty, but none of them have played considerable snaps. I can tell you that right now. Shane, appreciate it, man. Some good stuff, and guys, off to a good start. A lot of good questions. We'll get more when we return right here on Locked On Vols. But first, from cringing at the pump to getting an eye-popping check at your favorite restaurant, inflation is hitting us all where it hurts, and it really, really hurts. That's why I started using Upside. Upside's an incredible app for anyone who buys gas, groceries, or dines out. With every purchase, I'm earning cash back thanks to Upside. To get started, download the free Upside app, use that promo code LOCKED, and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Next, you claim the offer for whatever you're buying on Upside, check in at the business, pay as usual with credit or debit card, and then you get paid. In comparison to credit card reward or loyalty programs, you can earn 3 times more cash back with Upside. Upside users are earning more than $1 million every week. That's probably why they have a 4.8 star rating in the App Store. Download the free Upside app and use that promo code LOCKED to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using the promo code LOCKED. What is up, everybody? Welcome back into it. This is Locked On Vols, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and it is your mailbag time of the week, Twitter Tuesday. Let's go to Connor. Actually, Connor and Danny both had a similar question, so I'm going to kind of group you guys together. If you can only beat one, would you rather beat Bama or Georgia? I think it's Georgia, so we can win the East and have a second shot at Alabama in Atlanta, but wanted to hear your opinion. Love the show. Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for listening. Both you, Connor, and Danny actually read Connor's question, but Danny, your question was very similar. Yeah, I can't go wrong with your thought process there. Obviously, as a Tennessee fan, you want to win both. How realistic is that? I mean, it's probably like less than 15%, to be completely honest. But it is possible. And I think that if you were nitpicking here and if you had to choose, you would probably want to lose to Alabama and beat Georgia, run the table in the SEC, and then get to the SEC championship game. That way, as you pointed out, you have a second shot to go and get Alabama. If you beat Alabama, that's great. and lose to Georgia, and Georgia doesn't stumble anywhere else, then you're not going to the SEC championship game. So again, you beat Alabama, you break a streak of 15 losses in a row, but you don't get to go to Alabama, or you don't get to go to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. So that's kind of how I would do it. I know you're nitpicking here. I know Vol fans would just love to get one of those two. But that's kind of how I would go, and that's kind of how you said it, Connor. So appreciate that. Let's go to Danny. Danny chimes in. Actually, Danny chimed in a long time ago, and this is what Danny said before the season even started, okay? This is from August the 6th when he sent this in. Hypothetical and overly positive. What are you seeing happen if Tennessee is 5-0 heading into the Bama week? What has to happen in your mind for that to happen? And also play along a little. College game day on the Hill, craziest atmosphere since when? He adds, again, this is on August the 6th. I know I'm crazy, but I'm just having a little fun. Thanks for all you do. Well, hey, Danny, you're not crazy, bro. You're not crazy. Look what's happening right now. Tennessee's 5-0. Alabama is 6-0. It is a top 6 matchup inside Neyland Stadium. College game day is here. And that's just pretty miraculous. You chimed back in this week and said, bro, I spoke this into existence. Crazy hypothetical at the beginning of the season, but now it's a reality. Not saying we will win, but what a huge opportunity. And then the mind blown emoji. Danny, you're spot on, man. Go buy a lottery ticket. Hey, go buy a lottery ticket. But you are right. What an opportunity for Tennessee this week against Alabama. And I honestly do, as we'll get on with it more throughout the week. I think this should be a good football game. Let's move on. Josh, question for the show. When LSU was going for it on 4th and 4 with about 5 minutes left in the first quarter, why was the ref keeping Trayvon Flowers and Jalen McCullough? Keeping Trayvon Flowers and Jalen McCullough. That's what you said. Flowers looked like he was trying to communicate with McCullough, but every time he did, it looked like the ref was trying to get in between them and telling Flowers to back up. I didn't see that on film. I don't remember that in real time. Of course, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just not something that jumped out to me. I'm not sure. It was 4th down. Tennessee was great defensively on 4th downs. I think LSU was 0 for 3. I think the play you're referencing was the 4th down where Aaron Beasley made the stop. That was right, and we're gonna hit on it here in a live read in a moment. But that was right when the quarter changed and they took a shot, that 45-yard strike. I don't know, man. I'm not sure at all. But anyway, Tennessee obviously made the stop because Tennessee was or LSU was 0 for 3 on 4th down. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you there. I'm not really sure that. You can't tell a defender to back up, especially if he's not in the neutral zone. So that shouldn't have been what the referee was saying. Disconcerting signals, maybe if they were saying something that, could have been interpreted as a snap count, potentially, maybe that's what the referee was saying. I'm not sure, man. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't. Let's go next to Cole. Cole chimes in and says, how healthy are we going into the game Saturday with Tillman and Mincy out? This is actually sent on Saturday or Sunday, actually. And Hooker getting banged up and not looking the same after his big hit with Dylan Sampson when he didn't pick up the blitz. Also, what is the status of Bryce Young? I feel like Bama rested him for this matchup with us. Hendon's fine. I'm sure he was sore the next day because that guy just flat out drilled him, but he's fine. He spoke to the media on Monday and he looked fine. Gerald Mincy will play. Essentially, that's what Josh Heupel said when he spoke to the media on Monday. He said he anticipates him being back and being ready to go. Cedric Tillman, we will see. This was always the game that was the most realistic. That does not mean that it's a guarantee, but this is the game that was most realistic for Cedric Tillman. So we'll see about that. And then Bryce Young, man, that's obviously going to be a big storyline throughout the rest of the week. Nick Saban had a quote earlier on Monday saying, obviously they're trying to get him ready to go for this week, but this stuff takes time and we'll have to see if he's healthy enough to do what they need him to do. From reading that comment, it kind of felt like he wasn't ready to go. So we'll see. He was never playing last week, that being Bryce Young. I know he dressed that one up for warm-ups. College football coaches are so superstitious. It's incredible. But he was never playing last week. We'll see. I think it's going to be very much like a Cedric Tillman thing where you're just kind of waiting and seeing if he's under center, for snap number 1. I will say this, Tennessee is preparing for 2 quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe got the start against Texas A&M. He wasn't fantastic, but Tennessee is certainly preparing for 2 quarterbacks just in case. Let's go next to, let's see here. I think it's Cam. And Cam chimes in and wants to know, do you think this is the biggest game that Tennessee has played since the national championship? I was born in 98, and it feels like the biggest game in my lifetime. Obviously it's a big game. You got undefeated 5-0, undefeated 6-0, number 3, number 6 in the country, sold out CBS, College Game Day, SEC Nation. It's a big deal. And I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but you win the SEC championship game in 01, you're going to the national championship. You win the SEC championship in 08, you're going for a big time bowl game. So, I wouldn't say this is the biggest game since the 98 national championship, but this is certainly a big football game, no doubt. And you're a young guy like me, so this is one of the biggest games that we can at least remember in our lifetime. Cam, really, really do appreciate that. Let's go to Claude here. Claude says, should we as a fan base be worried that Oklahoma will come trying to hire Josh Heupel with their current coach not delivering in year one? Of course, Brent Venables, that was an ugly loss to Texas. I would say no. I mean, they were looking for a coach last year. Josh Heupel came out and said, "Yo, I'm here at Tennessee. I love it here. I'm not going anywhere." That does not mean he can't change his mind in the future. It's year one. They're not going to get rid of Brent Venables in year one. At least I don't think they will. But I would say that is not a concern right now. Like I said last year, like was the talk last year, that relationship kind of ended sourly, sourly, poorly. That relationship with Josh Heupel and the Oklahoma administration. Of course, Bob Stoops is not the head coach there anymore, but still very much around the program. That did not end very well whatsoever. So I just feel like anytime, as long as Bob Stoops is around that program, I do not think you will see Josh Heupel whatsoever. All right, last one here for segment 2. Then we'll hit up segment 3 questions. This is from Eric. Eric actually chimed in last week, and I forgot to hit it, but I'm going to hit it right now. If you could have either Nico or Arch Manning, who would you take and why? Good question. Really good question. And I don't think you can go wrong either way. I understand this is a Tennessee podcast. I'm not trying to slant towards the home fans, but I mean, I really would take Nico. Why? Because I think Nico has the most upside of any quarterback in this class. He can put on some weight. He's as skinny as a rail. He'll need to put on some weight, but the arm strength is, undeniable. It's incredible. His quick release. I mean, have you guys seen him throw the football? It is sharp. The release is so quick. His arm strength is fantastic. I think he's a smart football player, and I think if he gains some weight, he can be a really good quarterback in the SEC. Now, Arch Manning, he's more polished, obviously. Look at his family. He knows how to play quarterback. His footwork is really, really good. I just don't think he has nearly the upside that a guy like Nico does. But there's much more to playing quarterback than potential and upside. I understand that. But to answer your question, I would take Nico for sure. All right, we got more of your questions coming up next here on Locked On Vols. That's coming up in segment number 3. But I want to remind you guys about a proud sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. That is Nissan. Our partners in Nissan, they've worked with us to create a new segment across the Locked On College Network titled Thrilling Moments, where we highlight the most exciting play from the Tennessee game this past weekend or throughout the history of that program. This week's Thrilling Moments, I teased it a moment ago. It is Hendon Hooker's 45-yard dart to Jalen Hyatt for that touchdown. Tennessee just came off a 4th down stop. Aaron Beasley popped the running back in the backfield. Tennessee swarmed the ball carrier. What a 4th down stop there at the very end of the first quarter, kind of turning into the second quarter. And then on the first play, keeping with the momentum, it's football 101. You take a shot, and Hendon Hooker drop back, delivered just a beautiful ball to Jalen Hyatt right into the end zone in stride. That is the thrilling moment from week number 6 of the college football season for me, at least for the Tennessee Volunteers, to help Tennessee go 5-0. This segment has been inspired by the thrilling new designs featured across Nissan's new lineup of vehicles. Pursue what thrills you in an all-new Frontier Pathfinder today, available now at Nissan.com. That is NissanUSA.com. We got a final segment left here on this Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Guys, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here today. And, hey, I've been meeting a lot of you guys, seeing you guys walking into football games. I'm DMing a guy right now in real time Jimmy. I actually met him when I was on the field at the very end of the game. And he was having a good time watching Tennessee take down LSU. So I've talked to a lot of you guys. Thank you so much for all the kind words, the conversations, the interactions, all that. It's what makes this community here of Locked On Vols so cool and so so important to me. So with that being said, let's get away from that emotional crap and let's get back into some Twitter Tuesday questions. Let's go now to Tyler. Tyler says, does it feel like 98 to anyone else? I'm kidding, but in all seriousness, do you think we change the defensive game plan based on if Bryce Young or Milroe play? It seems like the team's identity is aggression, and we might need to lean into it more. Couldn't agree more. I think Tennessee's better on defense whenever it plays aggressive up front. That does not mean that Tennessee is great in man-to-man coverage in the back end, but I just think Tennessee performs better. They were aggressive against LSU. They were very aggressive against Pittsburgh, and the results have been much, much better than, scheme-wise against Florida just was not good. Now, the execution wasn't good either, but scheme-wise, just dropping back and just saying, hey, Anthony Richardson, we're going to play zone, come beat us. And he, about did, right? So in terms of, they're going to game plan, they're going to prepare for these quarterbacks, but like, I don't necessarily think that, in terms of the running style, we'll talk more on this in a moment, but in terms of the running style, Milroe's going to run. He will run. Bryce will only run when he needs to. So I think Tennessee needs to continue to be aggressive, bring pressure from the second, third levels of the defense. Do that loop, do that twist up front with the Leo wrapping around inside. Stay with that, be aggressive, and see what happens. Tyler, appreciate that. Let's go to Charles. Charles, as well as Tyler, wants to know, for Tennessee to win, what position group needs to perform the best? All of them. It just is what it is. The most important position on the field is quarterback. If Hendon Hooker's off, Tennessee will not win against Alabama, just plain and simple. So I guess the easy cop-out answer would be the quarterback. Hendon Hooker didn't play well against Georgia a season ago. I know this is the Alabama game. I'm just saying right now. So I'll go quarterback for sure, but also, I think that defensive line needs to be disruptive once again, especially if it's Milroe playing and you got to keep him kind of pinned up there because he will run the football. Stay with your strength. The defensive line's playing a whole lot better now. It will be different. It was a makeshift offensive line from LSU with a lot of banged up guys in there, and Alabama's much better, but still, there's opportunity there. Alabama's given up 9 sacks. Alabama offensively has turned the football over 10 times so far this year, while opponents have only turned it over 5 times. I'll go with the defensive line, but obviously everybody will have to elevate their play whenever you're playing up against a team like Alabama and a quarterback like Bryce Young if he plays. Let's go to Breyer. Breyer says, hey, Eric, question with Bryce Young sifting, excuse me, I need glasses. With Bryce Young sitting this past week with his injury normally taking a couple of weeks for recovery, do you think Saban will sit him or risk not having him at 100% for the rest of the season? Also, how do you feel about McCullough and his chances of playing? Yeah, I kind of answered the McCullough part earlier. I don't know this. Again, it's developing. We'll know more as the week goes on. I just feel like it'd be tough to say that he would be a factor this week. But we will see. We will see. I'm not ruling that out. As far as Bryce Young, in terms of sitting him and all that, I was actually talking to a buddy about this earlier on Monday. It's kind of funny. I'm saying if he's not close to 85%, and that's, keep in mind that's not 100%. If Young is not close to 85%, do you want to run the risk of getting him out there? Because one more hit on that shoulder and that could be a season ender potentially, right? Alabama has national championship aspirations this year, and you're not winning that without Bryce Young. You're just not. And so, but in the same sense, if you don't play him and you lose this game to Tennessee, you're still going to the SEC championship. You would need to run the rest of the table to win the SEC championship to get into the tournament or to get into the college football playoff. So it's just kind of, got to weigh your cons here. I think if he's close, then he'll play. Nick Saban's not going to sit a guy just to be, precaution, right? I know they said not playing him for precautionary reasons. Yeah, bullcrap. He was not playing last week. He was never playing last week. We'll have to see. I do think that if he doesn't play, Tennessee's got a great chance of winning this football game. I think Tennessee's got a chance even if he does play. So for that reason alone, if he can play, I think he'll play. I just don't know if he's going to be able to play. We'll have to see, of course, as the week goes on. We've got a couple more. Let's go to Kurt. Kurt says both Bama quarterbacks are averaging almost 9 yards a carry when they run the football, but they've run the second quarterback more, that being Milroe. Since the quarterbacks have been an issue for the Vols, if Young is healthy, would you expect to see them run Young as much or have Milroe in his absence? Excuse me. Young last year did not run all over Tennessee. He ran when he needed to. You had Matt Corral that ran all the time. You had Kenny Pickett that ran all the time. You had some of these other quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson, Emory Jones that ran all the time. Bryce didn't do that against Tennessee. He only did it when he needed to. And I think that's kind of what he does. I mean, I've got my notes over here somewhere. He's got a couple 100 yards rushing on the season, a couple rushing touchdowns, but I don't think he's looking to run. So potentially if he's not close to 100%, maybe they'll bring in Milroe just for some of those packages and everything. But Milroe doesn't throw the football well, so when he's in the football game, you kind of know what's coming up. We'll see. I just say I don't think Tennessee will prepare for both quarterbacks, but I don't think they're going to change much in terms of the scheme for either one, because I think they need to stick to what they do well defensively, and that's just being aggressive. So again, we will see. Let's go on to Robert. Robert says thoughts on a potential 3 SEC teams in the college football playoff. The scenario is this: 1 loss for Bama, that being Tennessee; 1 loss for Tennessee, that being Georgia; and 1 loss for Georgia, that being Bama in the SEC championship game. Yeah, boy, I would not want to be on that committee that puts 3 teams from the SEC in the big dance, right? And for that reason alone, I just don't think they'll do that. But it'd be hard to argue, right? I mean, again, 1 loss Bama being from Tennessee, 1 loss Tennessee being from Georgia, and 1 loss Georgia being Bama in the championship game. It'd be tough, right? It'd be real tough. I just don't see the college football playoff committee actually doing that. There's so much pride in that room. There's a lot of conference commissioners and conference people from elsewhere in the Big 10, the Big 12. I just don't see that happening. But again, if this happens, maybe it'll be the first time in the college football playoff era. That'd be a whole lot of fun. I would be for that 100%. Again, Tennessee not even playing in the SEC championship game, getting a boost of the college football playoff. Maybe that would hinder them as well because they have 1 less game on the schedule. But again, we've seen it before where a team doesn't play in the championship game, then leapfrogs and gets into the playoffs. So again, we'll see. Highly unlikely, I would say, but intriguing. I wouldn't rule it out. A couple more here. Let's go to Nate. Nate wants to know, if I can find Nate, what time is the Tennessee football UT Martin game on October the 22nd? Yeah, that was announced earlier on Monday. It'll be a noon Eastern kick. And then finally, let's go to Danny. And Danny wants to know. Actually, let's go to Blah. And Blah wants to know an update on Tank McCullough. Seems only one side of the story has gotten out because he didn't talk to the cops. Smart move on his part. Love the show. Go Vols. Yeah, again, we'll have to see. Again, this is a developing situation, developing as the week goes on. It's not really my place to comment, but obviously, I do think that there are factors of this situation that we just don't know right now. I know a lot of fans are rushing to judgment on one side or the other. I just think it'd be wise just not even to speculate until we get all the facts here. Strange situation to begin with, though. The report says the guy mistakenly entered his apartments. I read somewhere where he was intoxicated. There was a party, yada, 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 yada. I don't know. But anyway, you don't want, you just don't want one of your football captains to obviously get arrested. And that was the end result here. So we will see. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked on Vols. Guys, thanks so much for all your questions, your comments. I think I got to most of the ones that were sent in. If I didn't get to your question, I do apologize. But again, every single Tuesday, we will continue to do this right here on Locked on Vols. It's your first listen every single day. But now that we're done here for a Tuesday, go check out Locked on SEC with Chris Gordy. Make that your second listen behind Locked on Vols, your first listen each and every day. Appreciate you guys as always. Could not do this without you. It's the highlight of my day, talking to you guys into a camera. I'm really talking to myself, talking to the microphone, looking to a camera, talking to myself. But I know that thousands and thousands of you guys are listening and downloading this every single day. So that is just really, really cool. Same time, same place. Let's do it again tomorrow. Yeah. Let's do it again tomorrow. This has been Locked on Vols.